just in Siege. But that kind of short side note aside, let's have a quick chat about our map, actually. I'm very excited to see this match in general, but specifically which map we go on for this. And I think it's going to be very important. And there it is. Technical map. We're going to go to Clubhouse for this one. Jess, what's your take on this?
I am just looking across at my stats here, and the only time that FAV played it was against Fnatic, but they had a very bad showing on it. So I think that's actually why FAV won it comparatively. And if you look on Cloud9's side of things, they've played it 4 times, won it twice, lost it against Giants, lost it against another team in some of their other national play days. So how do you, I don't know, Des, how do you quantify? Do you say, okay, they've won it against Fnatic and Scars, probably not at their peak whatsoever. Is that really enough to lean back on and go, they're strong enough to win?
For me, I almost want to reference their recent play days when FAV were playing on Coastline. They held every single corner of the map and tried to give Giants a real headache, I think. They like to hold these aggressive areas of the map. You are going to see a lot of roamers coming out of them, but Cloud9, they are beasts when it comes to the attack. They are really aggressive. I think they could just roll over FAV here, especially given the structure that Clubhouse brings to teams when they play against each other.
That's true.
All right, guys, thank you so much for your input. Just as, let us toss it over then to our casters. Geo and Dev await us for Cloud9 versus FAV Gaming.
Oh no, another classic Geo mute. Once you're back, I'll let you start again.
I'm back. Let's forget that happened. I was going to say, it's time to delve into a classic Clubhouse, but it hasn't quite got the same ring to it now that, you know, that happened. So let's just go into the game. Let's just hurry up. Let's get it over with. There we go. Clubhouse.
I'm down. What a tight social vote. 51 for the major champions at Cloud9 up against one of the hottest teams from Japan in FAV Gaming. Now, Gio, something that the guys on the analyst desk were chatting about was Clubhouse. Kind of an uncommon pick for these teams. Funnily enough, according to the stats I've got, this is the most common map ban for both FAV Gaming and for Cloud9. These guys have played a game of chicken in the map veto, and by the end of it, well, Clubhouse has slipped through. Cloud9 defeated Fnatic on it in not very long ago, actually, in one of the previous play days. So perhaps that is a boon for them. I feel like they are favored here, but FAV Gaming, I've learned not to underestimate them.
Interestingly, FAV have also defeated Fnatic on this map. the only team, I believe, that they have they've beat on this map is Fnatic.
That's right.
So at least
Fnatic,
it's like a nice little Venn diagram. The middle of which is Fnatic, who got pushed into the dirt. So the question is, which of these two teams is going to do it to the other one? The first 2 operator bans are up on the board. We have a Hibana and a Monty.
Yep, so I'm not too surprised there from C9. That Hibana ban they also did against Fnatic not long ago when they played on Clubhouse. Maestro was their other operator ban. I expect that'll probably follow through here. Let's give it a second. Actually, the Valkyrie picked on out. Now, that's not a common ban on Clubhouse for Cloud9. If I look back into the past, they've done the Mirror, the Goyo, the Maestro, but never the Valkyrie. And if I look into the wider scheme of things, Valkyrie isn't even in the top 5 most banned operators for Cloud9. In fact, they've got quite a few players who are notorious on the operators. This is a very uncommon ban from Cloud9's side. But as for FAV, we've got the Monty ban. Look, it's something that we've seen C9 leverage a bit before. We've actually seen both of these teams leverage it before. Sure, why not? Monty is really powerful at taking some of these power positions. And Mira as well, very common ban just in general. But what we do have left in is both the Goyo and the Wamai. In particular, I wonder how impactful that Wamai slip through will be when we get upstairs later onto Cash defending the rafters in Garage.
I think it's a very worthwhile question, especially as Envy Taylor is obviously someone who we've seen play on Wamai quite a decent amount since he is. Well, I was going to say since he's been available, which now I think about it, it's been a really long time. Definitely an operator that Cloud9 like to, as you say, leverage. What I find really interesting about this, though, James, is the fact they brought a bandit.
Yeah, of course, Waldenal is the name of the game for a lot of the case, but of course Thatcher and Maverick have both slipped through this ban phase. The only operator to get banned on the hard breach side was this Hibana. So yes, that bandit very much present. I think we'll most likely see Harper use that to bandit trick the church wall. He could just place them down static, but I think you get the most bang for your buck out of that operator if you're actually actively bandit tricking. But since we're talking about hard breach and hard breach denial, I do want to touch once again on this Hibana ban. I think a lot of people are looking at it being like, well, why not Thatcher? Why not Maverick? If you're trying to harm the hard breach on the attacking side, like maybe even an Ace, right? Ace is super powerful. Well, there's one special thing about Hibana that no other hard breach operator can boast, and that is the ability to open 3 hatches. Of course, on the basement of Clubhouse, there are 3 super powerful hatches that you're looking to set your sights on. And the Hibana, in particular, getting that kitchen hatch, where you're vulnerable to impact tricking, the Hibana is your best candidate. You can impact trick, you've got 2 impacts, you can impact trick any aces or thermites, but that Hibana will always trump the number of impacts you've got, unless if you're bringing multiple impact operators. So I think from Cloud9, the expectation here from me is that MV Taylor will try to impact trick any ace or thermite charges onto that main hatch. There you go, there are 2 impacts, and so that's why they banned the Hibana.
I think any kind of push into the kitchen is going to be a huge risk for FAV Gaming as well, because of course you have the pulse being played by Static down below. It looks like FAV are going to be going straight for the stock hatch as Typon places the first exothermic charge, and you can hear off in the distance sound like that explosion worked, and yes, it did.
It's good stuff, and now of course I expect to see FAV turn their attention to kitchen. Already opening up a lot of the floor. The goal there is to flush out any players aggressive inside Armory, but Static seems unhindered. Typon to use his second exothermic on the Moto hatch, and now I do wonder whether FAV may decide to bypass the kitchen hatch. I think that's the best option now, with how much util they've expended on the other hatches. I think that they should rely on the rest of their hard breach. You can see there's still 2 Selmas remaining to breach the church wall, but that will be difficult with Harper ready and waiting to bandit trick it.
Yeah, they are going to throw in the EMP, but obviously you also have to be aware of the fact they've opened up these holes above the wall, which could, well, there's the impact going in, but you could also have a C4 that's thrown over as well. It makes those main stairs very dangerous. Also, trying to take blue is going to be incredibly dangerous, as you still have Xiao on the Jaeger at the top of the blue stairs. So once again, very well held so far by Cloud9 on the defense, especially considering the fact that there's 30 seconds remaining of the round.
This is critical now. Cloud9 did a great job at denying that wall, and now they've got this flank. It could be everything for Charles. 20 seconds left. He's in the best position he could ask for.
No way! He's gonna get 2 of them. He can't quite get the third as Shin ends that. But wow, that was incredibly cheeky. And now FAV have got to try and claw it back, but it doesn't look like it's gonna swing in their favor. Chloroform being the last player remaining. He gets 1 onto Nova. Can he secure himself a second? Well, it doesn't matter. Time is up. Oh, Shell!
That was a fantastic flank there. And I thought that the round was already swinging very much in favor of C9, in particular because that breach was unsuccessful, really well denied by the bandit and the impact grenades from Malusi to deny that main wall on church. But in particular, I think that that flank really just sealed the deal.
I think what it's going to do now is it's going to make FAV hyper aware of the fact that they can't leave any kind of roam uncleared. When you've got players like Xiao on Cloud9 who are going to pull off flanks like that, you just don't have room to risk it. Obviously, so many of the players, it was 3 of them who were barreling down main stairs, although I say barreling, one was on a drone. This is an easy first kill. Going down main stairs, you're all bunched up together. It's just easy cannon fodder.
Wow, well that's pretty nice there for Cloud9. What a convincing first round here, and FAV back on the back foot. Look at this. There was 18 seconds left on the clock, 17 even, when that first kill came off. There were 2 minutes and 45 seconds just about of FAV just doing the normal, going through the motions of Clubhouse, trying to breach this, trying to breach that. C9 clearly had the upper hand, and it was a desperate final 3 players down the main stairs that eventually was flanked upon by Charles. Great stuff, and well, even if he didn't find more than 1 kill there, he did more than his job. And now, funnily enough, we'll see Bedroom as the next objective chosen.
Yeah, this is the site, which very frequently is the tertiary bomb site, and it's interesting that we haven't seen CCTV so far, because a lot of teams these days like to go there first, at the very least like to go there in the first 2 rounds, but clearly that isn't to be the case. Once again, Cloud9 bringing that wall denial, and as we kind of alluded to earlier on, MV Taylor here on the top floor will be taking on the role of Wamai.
I think this bandit trick may well be a critical component, but Static only able to trick one of them. I really like that. So effective counter from the ace to counter that bandit trick. And funnily enough, it's not something crazy substantial with lots of different utility. It's simple. Just throw 2 Selmas, one on the left wall, one on the right wall. Bandit can only place down 1 battery at a time. And with how quickly the fuses of the Selmas, it's impossible to bandit trick both of those sides at once. There was no one nearby to impact trick. Great util usage from number 2 over here to clear the Goya shield at top red stairs. And everything's going well for FAV.
Very much so. There's still players from Cloud9 who are on this east side of the map, as Harper is obviously trying to hold on to the angle and prevent anyone from moving through the server wall. But I believe it was Xiao who was present in either cache or construction somewhere in that part of the map. He was around there as well. That's something that FAV Gaming will have to spend time clearing out, but obviously having the wall open is a good start.
Shin looking to push on through. Cash presence about to be addressed. The drone goes on 4th. Nade underneath. There's lots of info. Shin finds the first. Is traded eventually by Harper, but surely there's another refrag to come through. Number 2 is ready for it, and he finishes him off with the SMG-11. We're back at an impasse. 4 versus 3 for FAV.
This is good for VAV because it means that they don't have to worry about any of the defenders looking out from that part of the map, and they should be able to take control over on this south-facing balcony. That's where you're seeing the Thatcher Afro as he looks into construction. He doesn't have to fear any onslaught from Cloud9. Now they've just got to drone in and ensure that they have an idea of where these remaining defenders are. Obviously Static, who did earlier move into the bathroom, has a very low HP, and he could be an easy kill, and that'll give FAV a huge advantage above what they already have.
Nova holding onto this angle desperately. Static so low on HP. Number 2 gets into a gunfight, barely survives, but he does take down Nova. 15 seconds, and this is where the desperate push comes through for FAV.
MV Taylor, he opens things up with a kill on Chloroform, but he can't secure himself a second, and after a backwards and forwards, FAV Gaming take a round for themselves. Very aggressive at the end there. Constant sharing of kills, but eventually it goes in FAV's favor.
Sharing is caring, Gio. And
that-
well, I think for FAV Gaming...
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it is. For FAV, I really think that it was just that early mana advantage they managed to establish. Really good util usage on the cache side, opening up kennels, removing the Goy shield at top red. That then flushed out any players from top red. Shin eventually pushed on through there. He had live drones ahead of him. He used his lifeline to open him an entryway, and with Shin and number 2 pushing, they got a 2-for-1 trade and cache clear with about 50 seconds left on the clock. That's lots of time and a good man advantage. From there on, a big round from number 2, I will say. He found a second kill, pushing it into a 4 versus 2, plus the fact that Static was really low on HP. And 4v2 execute in the late round, even though Cloud9 had some good positions and they started off the fight, and Taylor found that kill at the top main stairs. Overall, just FAV able to refrag it out at the end. So good stuff from them, and I think that really hinged on just a strong methodical take from the cache side, with also the Jacuzzi breach open very early. Really good time efficiency, and winning some ones thanks to some good droning and entries.
What interests me here is the fact that Static and MV Taylor have now switched operators. I'm wondering if it's because they feel more confident in MV Taylor's ability to bandit trick. Clearly, one of the issues that happened in that last round was the fact that both of the walls got open very quickly. And you mentioned, of course, how playing the ace does make it easier to counter a bandit trick, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to call because at the same time as it's possible Nova and MV Taylor switched ops, sorry, it was Static and MV Taylor switched ops, it also could simply be that for the cache defense, MV Taylor's on the bandit role. It's pretty common for players to switch roles depending on the bomb site, switch operators depending on the bomb site. Let's see, MV Taylor able to successfully impact the first one and the second one. That is absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know who destroyed that battery. I think he must have shot it because the way that the interaction works these days is that Thatcher EMB now just disables bandit batteries instead of destroying them. And that means that, well, you can't place a second battery down once there's still one, even though it's disabled, on the wall. So I think MV Taylor must have shot the right-hand side battery before placing that down. Either way, really good stuff from him. And that is a significant amount of this hard breach utility already counted.
Yeah, now you just have one exothermic and one Selma remaining, and they're going to go in for it once again with Thermite.
Oh, no.
But he's backed off.
I think that the Zephyr concussions were unsuccessful. There's a exothermic that's also been tricked, I believe. I don't think he used that elsewhere. MV Taylor has been worth his weight in gold this round simply due to... Okay, thank you very much, medics. That's where that first exothermic was. So we're looking at one exothermic and one Selma remaining. And ideally, C9 would like to breach not only this kennels wall, or rather, FAV would like to breach not only the kennels wall, but also the other side as well on Con.
Getting a kill onto Xiao to open things up is certainly not a bad way to start the engagements, as we saw what value he can bring to the team earlier on. Nova's still around on a roam. Interesting given that he's playing Smoke, not generally who you expect to see, but he gets a nice kill onto Shin. Make that a second one onto Afro. He knew he was coming for him. Delete the drone, and so far he remains safe. And FAV Gaming are still yet to find their way into the site. Okay, number 2, he starts things off. Present here in construction. The wall, hasn't been opened, and he has to drop down. He's looking for that roamer, but so far won't be lucky in his search.
Nova's actually gone back to site. A full send comes in from FAV. Harper goes down. A second one for Chloroform. A hugely impactful entry here from the Ace Typon, forcing down the diffuser. And Static is forced to retake.
Yeah, Static just being the last one remaining. He's got a tall task ahead of him as the diffuser's gone down, but he gets the first kill. He sends in the pre-fire, not having much info on where these enemies may be. He misses the flashbang, but he knows that there's someone present on the garage rafters. He just wants to try and get this kill. It doesn't work out, and FAV Gaming take a second round.
Wow, I definitely didn't see that one coming, G. C9 had such a good setup, really successful bandit tricks. Credit to MV Taylor for destroying 2 of those Selmas, but eventually he was flushed off. Now, I'm not exactly sure for what reason he stopped eventually bandit tricking, but I think it was the exothermic or the Selma that was... there was actually only one remaining of each, and one of them was successful in opening up kennels. All it came down to at the end was, despite 2 great kills on the roam from Nova, FAV just swung in, particularly Chloroform, to find 2 entry kills there. Huge. Even if he had lost that second engagement, he had a player right behind him to refrag. So really well played from FAV, making the best of a bad situation and coming back despite losing that wall denial minigame.
Yeah, I have to say I've been really impressed with number 2 so far. In this game, he sat there 4-3, so doing pretty well, but he's just looked very unfazed in a lot of his engagements, and by that I mean he doesn't look pressured, he doesn't look scared or panicked, he looks like very much in control of what it is he is doing. Cloud9 heading down to the basement bomb site. The question is, are FAV Gaming going to be able to recreate what it is they've done correctly in those last 2 rounds and not allow themselves into a situation like what happened in round 1, where the roamer of the defending team comes and guns down your whole team on the main stairs?
Yeah, the 2 critical things for me that C9 did well on their previous defense of this bomb site was, firstly, the breach denial on the church wall, and that was actually mostly MV Taylor impact tricking the remaining Selmas, but kind of Bandit was there for redundancy as well, and of course that flank eventually from Charles. So I wonder how FAV will address this wall denial that Cloud9 is bringing to the table. Perhaps these grenades from number 2 could be impactful, thrown over the top. Take out the bandit, even flashbangs or concussions over the top might suppress the impact trick. It looks like potentially FAV are actually interested in going for this kitchen hatch, which would be a change of tack compared to their first attack onto this bomb site.
Static was a big deterrent to them last time, playing on the pulse directly underneath in, funnily enough, named pulse spot. They decided not to go for it before, so if they do decide to change things up this time, as you say, it's a very big difference to what happened, and it also means that Cloud9's attentions will have to be moved around and changed. Once again, the stock hatch getting open fairly swiftly, and actually Xiao taking a different position to what he did last time, where before he was at the top of blue stairs, and this time just ready almost directly underneath the hatch.
I do wonder why FAV are so insistent on getting that stock hatch. I don't think it seems to be impactful for that execute, because they're not pushing blue at all. I wonder maybe it would have been wiser to use some of this hard breach on one of the others. You can see that this Hibana ban is definitely proving as a deterrent for FAV. They're really just electing not to go for that main hatch in kitchen because of the lack of Hibana means that it's really easy to impact trick your only 2 ace charges, because you need 2 aces to destroy that hatch, and well, if you try and get your thermite in there to breach it, he's probably going to get C4'd, so you need remote hard breach, long distance. And that's, of course, where Hibana brings it and where Ace can help as well. The Static's providing so much info, and you can clearly see that FAV Gaming are shaping up for breaching this church wall with the Ace. There's so much denial. A Thatcher EMP goes out. The Bandit Trick looking to make some short work of these, and indeed it does. Number 2 finds a frag. FAV are just absolutely sending it.
They just sent Afro straight into Moto, and Cloud9 weren't ready for it. Still, the kills come in as they try to gun down this team. Once again, Static being the last player remaining. We've seen this before. He's going up against 3 players. Make that 2 as he takes down the first. That'll be Shin. But Taipon's getting the plant down, and he has to worry about Chloroform holding on to one of these angles. Can he do it? He's managed to get the next player. It's just Taipon remaining. He still has the cardiac sensor for the information. He gets rid of a drone, just peeking around the corner. Narrowly, he saw the player, but is he gonna be able to finish it off? No! FAV Gaming take their 3rd round in a row, and suddenly Cloud9 don't look so exemplary.
What a lovely unorthodox attack there from FAV. I think that was a complete bait from FAV against Cloud9. They were shaping up to pretend to attempt to breach the church wall. They're like, all right, guys, let's shape up. We've got 2 bottom main stairs. Pulse will, of course, know about that. And I'm going to try and breach the church wall, at which point the bandit is tricking it. We know he's there. We have info on him because we know he's got to be there. My charge has got electrified. He's got to be bandit tricking. Let's just drop 2 players down the moto hatch and start to force the issue. We know one guy is pulsing in Arsenal. We know that there's one guy busy bandit tricking. And there is literally 55 seconds left on the round. That is an unorthodox time in which you would execute. And I think that completely caught off Cloud9 there. FAV Gaming just forcing that so early and without what you would typically see in terms of map control, in terms of breaches, openings onto the bomb site. And it goes to show that sometimes you don't necessarily need to do the standard things, open up all of the standard checkboxes to give yourself an advantage in your execute. Sometimes you just need to subvert the expectations. And it worked flawlessly for FAV.
Cloud9 didn't like that, and they've decided to come back. It was really... Yes, same. As you say, it was a really beautiful execute, the way that they made it work for themselves. And you could see how it affected Cloud9 as well. I mean, as soon as they knew all the players were coming down the main stairs, Nova got the hell out of Dirt Tunnel. He turned around. Cloud9's attentions were all focused on what it was they thought FAV were going to do. And as you put it, FAV just subverted expectations, came in through a completely different way and threw chaos into the mix. So I wonder how Cloud9 are going to try and deal with it this time, because the likelihood of FAV being able to get away with it twice in a row, probably quite low. But are Cloud9 going to go for a similar flank like they did before? Do they feel like they can get away with that again?
First step, as always, on Clubhouse, map control. That's what FAV Gaming is doing right now. Still just double-checking everything. Couple drones on through, clearing the top floor. But I like this. They've got to work, already breached the stock hatch. It's actually 15 seconds faster than they were previously. Quite like that. And map control as well, now droning down to the bomb site. Now I do wonder, is the intention to continue try and breach this church wall? I think it would be really great if they could breach the church wall, but I just think there's so much denial from Cloud9. I don't think it's really going to be feasible. What I'd like to see from FAV is really try and force this pulse out of Arsenal, sledge open that floor and try and take the fight, because Static should be fairly vulnerable.
He has been allowed to persist quite a decent amount, and there goes the C4, but it won't find any victim. that means some of that threat that he's posed so far is actually no longer there now. So that could make it easier for FAV Gaming to go against him. It could also make it easier for them to try and take the kitchen hatch if that's what they decide to do. The nade doesn't quite catch out Static. He still lives.
Once again, FAV are not prioritizing kitchen. I think that that's fair. It's very, very difficult to open up that kitchen hatch, but not impossible, and that's the critical thing for me. I think that they could do it if they wanted to really lean into this vertical play. They could nullify the pulse, they could nullify the impact trick and force down 2 ace charges onto that hatch, but instead they're consistently using their hard breach elsewhere. They're forcing it down onto the stock hatch. They've got dirt open. Afro's actually aggressive in there, and it looks like FAV are changing tack and going for a blue take.
Something very different. He knows he's got to open the barricade, and that's going to give away his position, but it's done for him. A Static runs straight into the barrel of his gun. Afro now has great control, but Harper with a beautiful 2K in the C4. We didn't get to see that one, but that's going to make moves for Cloud9, who now force FAV Gaming into a situation where they have just 2 players remaining. Typon coming in from a completely different angle of the main stairs, and Afro's decided to edge out of the dirt tunnel and come in through kitchen instead, and they'll be able to work together, especially after bringing down Envy Taylor. It's now a 2 versus 2, but only 4 seconds remaining. There's not much hope here for FAV, and Cloud9 finally take another round.
A round that really, in my mind, hinged on that 2K from Harper. He was playing in church, as you would expect your bandit player, ready to bandit trick the church wall, and he lobbed a C4 over the top of that church wall, over the reinforcement and down to the bottom of main stairs. It's a very typical C4 spot, but a very powerful one. And it's difficult. If you're a player at the bottom of the main stairs, which is such a good position for an attacker to be, and you cut off so many rotations, you're really vulnerable to that C4, unless if you're constantly aiming up, ready to shoot it as it passes over. Of course, clearly no one was doing that. And, well, Harper found 2 victims. That was definitely the moment when I think the round swung in favor of Cloud9, because FAV started things with a strong pick. Afro's presence in dirt netted him 2 kills, but Harper not only evened it up, but swung the man advantage his way. Interesting to note, Gio, that's actually the very first round in which the opening kill had not been converted into a round win. In that round, FAV found the opening kill, but Cloud9 managed to come back and win the round. That's the only round thus far in this match where it swung that way.
You know what, James? That is a fun fact.
It is a fun fact. I'm
appreciate that.
full of them. Absolutely full of them.
Well, Cloud9, for their final defense, are returning to CCTV. Satisfied with their win from the last round, but probably not so satisfied with the way that this half has been going so far, as FAV were able to find 3 consecutive wins, including one on this site. Well, what we did see was a pretty successful bandit trick come out from Envy Taylor, but as things got more aggressive, it fell into FAV's favor.
What I really would have liked to see from FAV here, of course this is their last round of attack, so we're not going to, but I'll let you know anyway. I would have loved to see a Maverick. Just instead of going for this bandit trick minigame, just completely bypass it. Maverick the main wall, you get nades as well. You don't even need to bring the Thatcher in that case. You can ditch one of the hard breaches. You completely change your team comp. It just shows the different philosophies here. But I feel like it would have just nullified not only Envy Taylor's operator pick, but a lot of this Cloud9 setup. Instead, they're going to go through this whole minigame. Shin to throw the concussions through, and a nade as well, tossed on over from the CCTV window. Now, that would have been to Envy Taylor's demise, but he backs off. I think that's a smart move. Now, I would have said the Maverick was a better choice, but FAV Gaming have done a great job with that execute despite not having it.
Ooh, that was a great first kill onto Envy Taylor as well, who, as you say, had to rush off to avoid a death, which eventually caught up with him. And for number 2 to be just outside of construction as well, it meant there was so much pressure on server. Now Cloud9 is split in half, because Static is still holding here on garage rafters, and you have Xiao downstairs in the lounge as well. So they're ready on this side of things in case FAV Gaming start to move through. Obviously, it'll be harder for them to take control of garage as well. So things split in half, and FAV Gaming have to start making their move.
Static switched off the Wamai that he played in the previous round of this bomb site, and he's on the Goyo. Shin's in an aggressive position inside. Clearly, Cloud9 have no idea, and Shin's just waiting for that Goyo to peak. Fav trying to take control of Garage. They're droning it up. Static just holding patiently. Shin also patient in the bomb site, not overextending. This is a smart move. He's just waiting for a pick, waiting for one of these Cloud9 players to overstep their bounds, and there's so much time left. I think Fav have this one.
Afro is directly below Static as well. You've also got Chloroform coming around. He's really being encroached upon, and it's a very difficult situation for him. I think he's protected by just one ADS, and you won't even need to use projectiles necessarily if you can secure the crossfire and ensure that there's shots coming in from both sides, or just distract him or something, while everyone else in Cloud9 is trapped. But Static, he gets the first kill onto Typon. It is brought back by number 2, who gets a second for his troubles as well. And this is where Fav can start to move in as the time ticks down to near enough 10 seconds, and just Harper standing. He's still holding on to his 2 impacts, but he's going to throw them in. There we go. Does he deny? He does not. A great kill there from Shin to end the round. And Cloud9 really fall to the wayside on their defending half.
Wow, what a way to attack that bomb site. I thought that Static had almost won the round by surviving for so long in Garage, but some great picks in the late round from FAV Gaming. The immense patience that they had, in particular Shin, in the bomb site for about 40 seconds, just holding an angle, hoping for that Garage player to start moving around so he would find the angle, hoping that maybe a player would just sprint in from Cash into CCTV and he would find that player. Number 2 was on the Kennel's balcony or on the rappel, watching for runouts, aggressive peaks from top red for I think about 40 seconds as well. He found 2 from that position. Shin completely surprised the smoke player of Nova by already being in CCTV. Overall, really great stuff from Fav, and it goes to show how much potential this team has and how strong they can be when they're in form, and that's exactly what we're seeing today. On the analyst desk beforehand, these guys were talking about how this could be a make or break moment for Fav to take it to Cloud9. I think that that's exactly what they're doing.
And they really need to as well. Fav have been living in the shadow of some of their counterparts, particularly Cyclops Athlete Gaming, who, you know, they won Pro League Season 11 in Japan. They've kind of held it over them that they are the better Japanese team. And Fav were never quite able to prove that it should and could be them. This stage, though, that story is starting to change, and it's being shown very well here against Cloud9, as Fav now head into their own defense. And judging by some of the operators they brought, it looks like they are probably going to need some clearing out.
Definitely a lot of util to clear, especially with, I believe we've probably got 2 shields here from Fav. One on the alibi, one on the smoke, is what you would typically see. Not sure where. Okay, there's one in sight in Church to enable a blue peek onto Moto. That would definitely help against the Moto push. Don't think there's a second one though. Let's have a look. Yeah, Afro's bringing impact, so he's going to try an impact trick. I like this. You know, Fav are ready to lean into the operator bans, and I wonder, obviously, I theorize that the Hibana ban really hurt Fav, but of course, they were still successful on 1 out of their 3 Church attacks anyway. In fact, C9 were only able to successfully defend Church, and well, we'll see whether Fav can defend Church, and then hopefully more than that as well.
It's actually really interesting to me that because, of course, they haven't brought a sledge, they have to rely on the breach charges brought by the Thatcher to actually open up some of the floor, both above the main stairs and in kitchen. We did, of course, also see some of that secondary hard breach utility be used from the Capitan onto the bar hatch.
Yeah, actually really interesting the way that Cloud9 interprets this hard breach situation. Very different to Fav. They're not bringing a thermite, they bring the Ace and the Maverick plus a secondary hard breach. Overall, they have the capacity to open more hatches than we saw from Fav with the thermite and Ace alone, but I still don't think they're going to go for that Church hatch. It looks like they're going for a Moto execute, but the critical thing here is opening the Church wall.
Afro gets a nice first kill onto MV Taylor, who was above in the hatch, and Static's come down to provide support after throwing in the EMP. You can tell that the players from FAV Gaming are already waiting behind the church wall as Harper's trying to get it open, while Afro's just watching above him, seeing if there's anyone to come and dare try and take him. Shin gets a kill, but Harper turning things around, and he was prone on the floor. They still haven't got the wall completely open, but that's not going to stop Cloud9 from getting the kills. Nova, he's showing up. A 3 versus 2 now with Afro bleeding out. Number 2 not afraid, just like he wasn't in the first half. He's taking matters into his own hands, and he's got to go up against 2 players from Cloud9. Harper and Nova, both of whom have really showed up so far. The plant beginning to go down once again. Number 2 trying to find a kill, but Harper secures it. Cloud9 take their first attacking round.
Very, very close round for Cloud9. Harper to step it up at the end and found the final 2 kills. Actually, he found 3 out of the final kills. He got that refrag onto the aggro Jaeger player, Shin, in the hallway. He also managed to somehow spray through the wall and injure Alibi. That was Afro, I believe. And then, of course, closing out that final pick. So great stuff in terms of shots from Harper that round. You'll see he's been fragging out for his team this game. 2.0 KD, always nice to see, especially on a support player. I really feel like support players have gotten a lot of love now with this ace introduction. People can switch off the thermite, play something with a bit more firepower. I know a lot of people have been super keen on that. But to look back a bit, I actually thought that that round was going well for FAV. At the very start, 1 minute and 8 left on the clock. Afro found an aggro peek through the bars, through kitchen floor, and took down MV Taylor. And I thought FAV actually had a really good position from that point as well, because they successfully bandit tricked the explosions from the Selma on the church wall, so there was only a single line of breach, and not really one that Cloud9 could viably use to enter or clear church. But from that point, FAV kept playing fairly aggressive. A player tried to peek Moto from church quite aggressively. He was punished. Of course, Shin in the main hallway on the Jaeger was traded out after his kill. And overall, Cloud9 able to refrag it out. So FAV, they're not going to dilly-dally too much. They're not going to dwell on the errors of that downstairs objective. Instead, they'll rotate immediately to cash.
I actually quite like that they've put the proximity alarm downstairs, because that will alert them. Of course, if anyone goes down below to try and remove utility, obviously they've brought Thatcher, so getting rid of a mute jam or a bandit battery or whatever may be on the wall could be more straightforward than, well, than if Thatcher had been banned. But even so, it gives FAV Gaming a decent amount of information as to the location of players from Cloud9.
My main concern here for FAV is that I feel like the utility Cloud9... Okay, never mind. I shouldn't be concerned for FAV. I was about to talk about how the bandit is kind of a useless pick, but it doesn't matter, because he's just going to go and kill Shile. So, what? He just contested those holes? He contested that? That is disgusting.
Yeah, not bad, is it? It's also not great for Cloud9, who got so much out of Xiao in the first round, and since then haven't seemed to have such luck, because FAV know who it is they've got to shut down, and it's been working.
So C9 pivoting over to the construction side. Good control thus far. Number 2 to hold down the objective. Cloud9 have opened up some nice breaches though, and I think that's going to make the difference here.
Very much could be the case. They're definitely taking their time, and I like to see this. I like the patience of Cloud9, because it's something that worked out very well for FAV Gaming. They're working on getting the construction wall open. Mute Jammer's right behind it, but they did place an EMP, so shouldn't be a problem. And that obviously forces number 2 out of his position as well, as Harper tries to take quite an aggressive stance, looking forward to the top of red stairs, not necessarily knowing that there's a player directly to his right.
It's great utility here for Cloud9 to flush out these key positions, especially the Capitao. Looking at MV Taylor, see if he can flush out the position of number 2. There's a drone, but what is that? Number 2 says, you're not flushing anything, I'm flushing you straight down the dunny. Harper does the refrag, and that puts C9 into a winnable position. 3 versus 4, it's not the best, but they're aware here of Shin on the flank. Shin's patience, though, may reward him, as Cloud9 are going to have to focus, and well, it's a 3v3 on site with Shin always ready to flank.
Definitely a big problem you have as time starts to tick away because you can't afford to spend so much away from the site. Harper just pre-firing into the corner because he knows that's where number 2 was before, as well as the top of red stairs where Afro is situated with Chloroform not far away. Static over towards logistics. He's hoping he can catch out Shin before he catches out Cloud9, but it looks like Afro and Taipon have already got that down. Taipon finishes things off. Cloud9 completely shut down on their push into site.
Yeah, I really like that. In particular, numbers advantage for FAV, 4 versus 3, and Shin decided to flank. But instead of forcing the issue, trying to go for that flank aggressively, he knew that they knew where he is. In a position like that, almost always the attackers will have a lot of really good drones. At this level, there's probably a drone in the kitchen hallway or a drone near the main stairs or top of the main stairs, or it's a sound call or a visual call. The attackers will know. They've got players who are dead watching those cameras. They will have called out the Maestro is flanking main stairs. And that's why we saw 2 players from Cloud9 looking directly behind them, waiting for that flank. And Shin just sat there. He's like, no, I'm cool, guys. You know, on your own time. Whatever you want. You can push me if you want. I'll just take the fight with my 81 bullets. But if you don't push me, that's also cool. I'll just sit here. And that meant that that was effectively, instead of a 4 versus 3 for FAV, it was a 3 versus 2. And Cloud9 had 2 players who were trying to execute onto the 3 anchors from FAV, and they didn't have info on where those anchors were, because they hadn't had time to drone it, and the Thatcher couldn't assist them. It wasn't a 3v3 on site, because the Thatcher of Static was just solo watching that flank. So really well played from FAV, and it goes to show that patience is most definitely a virtue.
It's a very frustrating position to be in for Cloud9 as well. You've come into this stage knowing that you've proven yourself as the best team in the region because of your major performance. You've got 510 SI points. You're in joint first for qualifying to the 6th Invitational. Okay, you lost a game to your greatest rivals in the region. That's Giants. But it's fine. We're still the best. We can still pick it up. We can still continue this forward. And then you come into this game on a map that both of these teams ban so much and you never see them play on, and suddenly you're on the back foot. You can't turn around and change your mind at this point. You've got to keep going through. And what looked like it was working for you at the start seems to have been overtaken. And that's the problem Cloud9 are facing right now.
In the stats I've recorded, in Japanese Nationals, APAC North League, even a bit of Pro League, and I've banned this 18 times. Banned Clubhouse 18 times. This is by far and large their most banned map. And yet they are showing to be incredibly strong right here, right now, against Cloud9, despite some no problems on their attack, dealing without that Hibana. They have come into their own here on this defense. Of course, we're only traded rounds, 1 apiece here on FAV's defense, but wow, C9, very aggressive here, very early. I like that from Static. He backs out straight away after dealing with that util.
Very much so. It's taking me back to an EU league yesterday when we had Vitality and BDS who got consistently caught out running into the jacuzzi wall. They're now placed Shin to, I think he was getting rid of a drone, but he's not going to hang around in Jin. Instead, watching the construction wall. One thing I think is really interesting about how well FAV are playing, despite the fact having banned this map so much, is the creativity with which they've been approaching it. And that, I think, is one thing that's working out so well for them that Cloud9 are just starting to struggle with. But they are beginning to get the bathroom wall open as Xiao gets the first kill onto Shin.
I was going to mention Shin. He actually running the FMG9, one of the best guns on defense, especially within the 1.5. But, oh well, he was taken out. Nova's making entry. Oh, what is that? The collat, the double spray for Chloroform finishes it off with a third. Envy Taylor left reeling. That was absolutely disgusting. And now Envy Taylor doing his best to try and make things work. But against 3 players, he wants to hunt the first. Chloroform says, come and get it, I'm ready for you.
Chloroform definitely looks prepared, and I think Envy Taylor should be afraid. He has 30 seconds, not only to pick up the diffuser, but to get rid of these 3 players, all of whom have been causing absolute destruction onto his team so far. You can see them ready and waiting just behind the door. Envy Taylor so cautiously trying to peek around, but number 2, he was prepared. FAV Gaming take yet another round on Clubhouse.
Yeah, well, what can you say that came down to? Well, Cloud9
Chloroform?
got the opening pick. They shut down the smoke player of everyone. I mean, that's wonderful. You don't have to deal with that gas, that entry denial, that plant denial, the thing that can slow down, separate your teammates when some people enter side and some people are still outside. Yeah, that's such a great pick. And on the back of it, C9 are like, look, guys, this is free real estate. Let's just swing. We've got this. We have some ideas of where these players are. Chloroform says, look, you don't got any idea what anything's about. He sprays down 2 headshots with the SMG-11. Absolutely lovely. You love to see it. And now FAV, against the APAC major champions, have a 6-3 lead. This is everything that the Japanese have been chasing season after season. Stage 1 was not everything that FAV hoped. They got knocked out of the APAC major without getting very far whatsoever. And here they are on match point against C9.
It was a big deal for the Koreans to be able to prove that they were the dominating APAC North sub-region. And as you say, this is a big deal for the Japanese now as they hope to take that back and prove that it can indeed be them. Back down to Church, which we did see C9 win on round 7. The 6-3 lead that you just exhibited there so beautifully for us may turn into a 6-4 if Cloud9 can recreate the...
Am I sensing a little bit of Korean bias from you? Gee, I just want to be real with me.
I'm not. I actually think FAV are doing really well. I was just trying to set up. I was trying to set up a story of hope. You know that thing where like you're meant to try and like set up some hope because I could. All right, I'll do it better for you, James. Hold on.
Yeah,
FAV Gaming are so far ahead that there's no hope for Cloud9. There's no point in watching this last round. What about that?
Thanks, guys. All right, see you later. You know, tune in next Playday, whatever. No, okay. Yeah, let's be real. Cloud9, they're not to be underestimated. Of course, they have a good. Oh, that's. Hey, you know, everyone talking about, hey, one-punching barricades doesn't exist anymore. Shyle just one-punched a barricade, one-punched and shot out 2 tiny bits of wood, and then you can vault it. That's cheeky. I like that. A little pro tip for all you ranked stars out there.
It's because he's wearing the TSM skin.
Oh, also that. You gotta buy the TSM skin.
He's just doing what Bolo would do.
That's it. Let's loop back around and talk about C9 though. We said that it's going to be difficult to track up from here, but it is possible.
Oh.
All right, that's 2 completely unrelated kills. Shyle punishes some aggression from Shin, nice and early, but there is a C4 and Taipon to take up that position.
Yeah, great news if you're wanting to attack blue, but not such great news if you're wanting to go into kitchen. Although, as we did just see, I believe it was Taipon who went and moved into the bottom towards utility. So that's still another thing that Cloud9 will have to deal with. And obviously, MB Taylor trying to move around rather quickly because on the sledge, you move quite slowly. You don't want to get caught out. But now he has some good angles to look down through the floor.
Yeah, you're talking about time. That's something that's on my mind here for Cloud9 because they're electing to bring the Maverick. It's a much slower method of hard breach, especially on hatches, because you have to do a lot of damage to those hatches with the Maverick torch before it fully breaks. We've noticed Nova successfully did that. What is this? I have never seen this strategy before. FAV have decided, all right, you guys have established blue control. I'm going to reinforce it off. This is like Oregon elbow strategy. I love watching FAV.
It's like,
they have so much creativity. This is beautiful. Now Taipon can hold Moto from the position behind the shield, and C9 can take blue all they want. It won't help them take Church.
It's also really difficult because there are the crossfires that could be established as we see where number 2 is. And that's exactly what happened. Xiao goes straight down, which means Cloud9 have to do all but a one-dimensional push from the main stairs area. And you can obviously see them getting caught up in that toxic smoke that came out from Taipon. They've had to change the way that 2 of their players are going as they head on over to the stock hatch. But number 2 is ready and waiting. They're just jumping into the meat grinder. Fewer than 20 seconds still remain. And there's 4 players of FAV Gaming on the board as Cloud9 desperately try to figure out how it is they're going to rush into this site, but they can't do it. FAV Gaming take it from a match point to a 7-3 and a victory over the champions of their region.
What a display of excellence from the Japanese here. FAV always living under the shadow of Cyclops, of Guts Gaming, of Norengo. They have broken out and established themselves as their own. What a beautiful match from FAV on their most banned map. I just love watching the creativity that this team brings to the table. And a dominant 7-3 over, as you said it, Gio, the major champions of APAC. FAV have a lot to be happy with themselves about.
That was so much fun to behold. As you say, the creativity coming out from FAV Gaming was just so entertaining, if not successful. Cloud9, of course, are going to be walking away with their tails between their legs and wondering maybe they should continue banning that map in the future. But analysts, let's hear what you have to think on that exciting map.
What a map indeed. We're all sitting together here in a